Hello and welcome to Open Line. I'm Starlene Stringer. Irving has a rich history and our guests today are committed to sharing it. A lot of fun and creative ways is how they're going to do it. They are members of the Irving Heritage Society. Kay Ward is president. Rick Stouffer is president-elect. Patty Landers-Caperton is a committee chair, as is Mary Higbee. Thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you.
Well, we're going to get right to it and start with you, Kay. Let's start with an overview for people that are not familiar with the Irving Heritage Society. What exactly is it?
Well, the catalyst for the founding of the Irving Heritage Society was on July 3rd, 1975, when Sister Mary Schulz and her parents, Mr. and Mrs. C.P. Schulz Jr., donated their family home to the city of Irving as a historical landmark. And it was at 303 Iowa Street, which was changed to 303 South O'Connor as we know it now. But this donation was in celebration of the American Bicentennial. Charles Percy Schulz, the father, was the brother of J.O. Schulz, who is one of the founders with Otis Brown of the city of Irving. So that's how it started, and some of the families, the Neal English family and the Bates family, realized that with this donation they were going to have to create a more permanent society or some kind of organization to take care of the house, and also to keep the history, the rich Irving history going. And that's when the society was created.
Interesting. Thank you for the overview. And Rick, as president-elect, what made you want to get involved?
Well, I was fortunate to serve on the Irving City Council for a number of years, and in doing so was able to meet a lot of great people. And the more we talked about things, the more I visited with certain individuals, the more I realized the rich history that Irving has. And the thing that's somewhat sad and somewhat exciting at the same time is that a lot of our people that have been here for many years know the history, but unfortunately with age they're no longer with us. And so we need to continue to understand what a great city this is and how it was put together. I mean, it's a combination of many different organizations and groups, and Bear Creek was brought into the city along with several other areas. Kit was brought into the area. So it's a combination of different subdivisions coming together to make one city that is one of the top 100 cities in the United States. And so it's important that we maintain and understand how it started and the people that were involved and how it all has come together to be the great city it is today.
Wonderful. And Mary, I know a lot of times when people think of Irving Heritage Society, one of the big things you think about automatically is Heritage House. Can you tell us the story of that?
Certainly. Well, the C.P. Schulz that Kay mentioned, he and Virginia Tucker Schulz were married in 1912, and they built a new house, and that's what we now call the Irving Heritage House. And they were leaders in the community because he had come to take over the family business, which was a lumber business. And the housewarming for the house, the new house, didn't take place until 1914, and I believe we'll probably tell you a little bit about the Valentine tea just a little bit later, but it was in the theme of Valentine's Day.
So when is it open for guests?
It is open for guests on the first Sunday, March through and including December, from 3 to 5 p.m. And we try to do the tours at 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock so that they can be done collectively. And of course, it is free to tour the house.
Wonderful. And Patty, the next question is for you, and it's about the Playhouse, because I understand Mary's Playhouse is now open. Tell us the story of that.
In the backyard area, there was for many years, there was this sort of dilapidated structure, and I've been a member of the Heritage Society, I guess, for about 5 or 6 years. So I got to exploring it and asking questions and found out that it was a playhouse that the owner of the home, Charles Schulz, had built for his daughter Mary. Originally it was a chicken coop.
Oh, wow.
And he owned a lumber yard, so he kind of filled it in and made a little playhouse from it. But over the years, it had become dilapidated and was sinking into the ground and just overridden with vines and trees and everything. And so we decided to take it on as a sort of a fundraising project first, and then we got some people from the city, and then Vernon Proctor from Mart Incorporated really helped us in planning for a new playhouse. And our purpose was to have a building and a place where we could encourage our younger children in the community to come in and kind of see what the history of their city was like from a children's perspective. We demolished the original home and saved some of the wood and rebuilt it. So we have a nice playhouse now. We opened that back on November 8th.
Wow, you talked about demolishing it, and we got to see some video. We're still looking at it right now as you've talked about it. So what exactly went into restoring it? What kind of work had to be done?
Well, we had to take a lot of pictures so that we would be sure, and a lot of measurements to make sure that we created the playhouse as close to the original as possible. And then Gene Molden with the city's capital improvements project drafted out some plans, and then Vernon Proctor's staff at Mart were the ones that rebuilt the home. And it really is neat when you see it that they saved some of the old I cannot say that word, shiplap pine, and replaced it into the walls. So it you really do get a feeling of authenticity when you enter the little building. And we have a lot of the little toys and games and dolls and clothes from the children, the Schultz children, Mary and Charles. So it just makes it a fun place to visit.
Definitely. We've been looking at the video, and it looks wonderful in video, and I'm sure even better in person. So when is it open? When can people visit?
Well, it will be open the same hours as Mary mentioned, that the Heritage House is open, first Sunday of the month, March through December, and then we will open it for special tours. If school groups want to come through and see it by special arrangements, we'll be glad to do that as well.
Wonderful. And we're going to switch topics a little bit, because for those watching us live right now, there's still time to get in on the very special event that's coming up, the Vintage Valentine Tea on February 14th. Tell us about it and how people can get involved.
Well, the very first Valentine Tea was in 1914 on Valentine's Day. And we are having a Vintage Valentine Tea this Sunday, February 14th, at the Heritage House. And it will be, instead of a housewarming, it'll be more like a Valentine tea. But the decorations are the same, cupids, hearts, all kinds of different decorations that would go with Valentine's Day. There's no reservation needed, no RSVP, and there's no charge.
Oh, wow.
We have two chairmen, Jerlene Miller and Vicki Tate. They're the co-chair, and they've done all the planning and all of the work. You can also come and see Mary's Playhouse. It'll be open 2 to 4 on Sunday.
Okay.
And we'll serve tea and sandwiches, some of the old recipes that they served in 1914.
Oh, wow.
And it's just a fun time to come, and a good Sunday afternoon, enjoyable Sunday afternoon.
Wonderful. Now that's for February 14th, but throughout
Right.
the year, do the decorations and exhibits change?
They change. We only use these decorations for the Valentine Tea, and we have other decorations at different times during the year when the Heritage House is open.
Oh, wonderful. I want to switch and talk to you for just a minute, Mary, because something I know you're much looking forward to is celebrating Irving, the city and the man. What's that all about?
Well, 9 years ago, we began a special program honoring Washington Irving, the first American man of letters, and the history of Irving, Texas. Although the Heritage Society over the years have honored Washington Irving in various ways, but 9 years ago we began a program, and it has somewhat stayed within the same context but with different features each year. And that includes like our traditional Irving trivia contest that is fun. But this year we are thrilled because we have a special guest whose name is Will Moses. He's an artist and illustrator. He is the great-grandson of Grandma Moses, and I brought his newest book, which is Fairy Tales for Little Folks. And you can see that his style of painting is similar to what Grandma Moses had. And it's what they saw, what she saw and what he sees.
It's very beautiful, the
yes,
artwork.
It's, you know, rural life. They live on a farm. It's the cows, it's the chickens, it's the barn, it's the horses and such. He will be here on April 3rd, which happens to be Washington Irving's birthday,
Wow.
at 4 p.m. in the Dupree Theater for a free program that I hope the public will come and enjoy, because his work is going to be showcased at the Arts Center for 3 months from April 2nd through June 26th. That is free. The Arts Center is also doing a Family Fun Day centered around folk art, and then some classes. Will Moses will also be doing Google Hangouts with our school district. There will be an opportunity to meet him on Monday the 4th at 4 p.m. at the West Library, and then that evening at 7 p.m. at the J.C. Center for the Arts. And the community will have a chance to create their own folk art to bring to be exhibited at the J.C. Center for the Arts and the West Library. So there's
Really?
just lots going on.
It sounds like it's going to be a very busy time,
It
but a
is.
busy and fun time.
So we hope the viewers will check our website and learn more about it as the plans get finalized.
Wonderful. Another fun event we want to talk about, Rick, is the fish fry. Obviously, it's going to be very fun and a lot of good food, it sounds like, but can you give us exact detail about the fish fry?
Sure. The fish fry this year is going to be April 15th and at Heritage Park. This is the 12th year that it's been in existence. It's a lot of fun. It's a great time for everybody to get together and build a camaraderie. The food is outstanding. Marvin Randall and his team have done it for the number of years, and they do an excellent job. And we're fortunate that Marvin and his crew continue to do that for us. But it's an opportunity for people to see the downtown area, to see the Heritage Park, to see the great things that we have in this area of the community, the big trees, and the park is outstanding. It's a great time for people to get together and talk. It's always different every year. You have people that have never been there that are excited to see, unaware of what we have to offer in the community, and then you have people that have been there every year, and they can tell us about what's been going on around the community for the last 100 years. So it's kind of a fun time for new people as well as those existing to share stories and talk about the community and enjoy some great food.
Wonderful. And Patty, I know another big part of the celebration is the trivia contest.
Oh yes, that is so much fun. We have a great time with that, and we encourage teams to organize. I guess we can have 4 or 5 to a team. Is that right?
Total of 4.
And we've done this for 9 years, and there really is a good competition going between various groups. But we always need new teams to participate, and the questions can range from the history of Irving, so it's a good idea to read the Irving history. There's a couple of history books to read, and but also there are questions from current events going on in Irving, like it might be a basketball player from MacArthur and where that person went to college or whatever, who was that person. And so the competition is great, it's fun. We always end up laughing because people will come up with these bizarre answers sometime and they're convinced they're the right answer. So it's a lot of fun. There's a big trophy. And you know, this year I really want to get a couple of high school teams participating. I think that would just be fun. I think they could really put up a good challenge to some of us. But do encourage that. Sign up, get involved. It's fun.
Spoken like a current champion.
I was
Patty's
gonna
been on
say,
a team that has won twice, not
Wow.
consecutively,
Yeah.
but won twice.
yeah, she kind of mentioned that they get pretty competitive.
Yeah,
She didn't go
very
into detail. I
competitive.
understand there's some rivalry, right?
Oh yes, oh yes.
So people really get involved and get really excited about this. And now you've put the challenge out there to young people. So
I
I'm
have.
sure they're watching and they're going, we're going to take that challenge. We're going to take you up on that. We'll see.
Absolutely.
Well, Rick, there is also talk about the Heritage Museum in Irving, or there possibly being one. How would the Heritage Society be involved in that?
Well, it gives us the opportunity to, over the years, the Heritage Society has received some funds that we can use in the facility for exhibits and purchasing of exhibits and material. We're excited. When I was on the council is when we first started putting money away under Mayor Putnam. There was a bond sold, so we were able to start looking at a museum and how we would develop it out. So the present council and staff are evaluating everything, and we're excited with the options that they have, and they're looking at all of them, and look forward to it being open, because it'll give that next phase for the young people to understand what the city is about, how we came to be, and what we were and what our future will be.
Wonderful. Mary, switching topics a bit again, I realize that Irving has a home that's now listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Can you tell us about that?
I would be happy to. We actually have two homes,
Wow.
but the very first one belonged to Dr. Clay Gilbert. And on December 7th of 2014, we had the dedication. You know, to get on the National Register of Historic Places is quite a challenge. And it was selected because of two criteria. One was related to the significance of his father and his grandfather as pioneer doctors within our region. The other criteria was on the architectural design of the building. It's called an airplane bungalow. Interestingly enough, it was built by A. Fred Joffrey, who also built the Heritage House.
Wow.
So while he was, story goes, while he was building the Heritage House, he saw this plot of land next door with the trees, and he wanted to build his own house there. So he built it, and then the Gilberts, it was built in 1919, and then the Gilberts purchased it, I believe, in like the 1930 period.
Wow. Well, there's probably people out there watching right now that are fascinated and love what they've heard today so far. And so I want to ask you, how does someone become involved? How do you become a member of the Heritage Society?
You fill out a form and join, and we're happy to have you. Our fees are very nominal, and we have gotten quite a few new members this year, so we're always happy to have new members. And one thing about the museum I wanted to say is a long-term goal of the Heritage Society is the establishment of an Irving Museum in the Heritage District.
Wonderful. I'm glad you
So-
brought up long-term goals, because I wanted to ask you, Rick, what are some of the other goals for the Heritage Society in the future?
Well, I think the challenge for us is to get new people involved, and that's one of the things that Kay and her predecessors have done a good job and doing is getting the information out to the new people that are in the community to get new people involved. We've had with the redevelopment of downtown, there's been more people involved with the big state being done and remodeled and opened. They have our cookbooks, they have our other books that they allow others to purchase from them, and it gives people the opportunity to understand some of the background and forward. So that to me is the challenge, is to get the new people and the young people involved to understand their past.
Wonderful.
We are very interested in charter membership too of a lot of the businesses in Irving. We have some, but we can always use more.
Wonderful. And I'm thinking people out there are going, okay, we can take that challenge. You gave a challenge a bit earlier, Patty, telling you wanted young people to get involved with the trivia contest, but a lot of young folks are so excited about Mary's Playhouse. I want to go back and talk a little bit more about that, like where you found some of the items that are inside, because we were looking at them earlier and they're wonderful to look at. So
Some of them were actually left in the playhouse, and they're a little bit rusty and old, and so we had to, I know Sandra Cole was on the committee, and she cleaned up some things so they looked, you know, they weren't all dusty and everything. So, and then there were some items that were actually in Mary's room in the Heritage House, so we moved some of those out to the playhouse. And then one of the things that Mary and I were fortunate enough to obtain from the Dallas Historical Society was, it was an 18th century bench, wasn't it? From a schoolroom, a classroom. And so we placed that bench in the playhouse so that when children come in, they can sit there and we can tell them about the various things and they can ask questions.
Speaking of questions, Mary, I want to ask you, when people visit Heritage House, what are some of the common questions they ask you?
Well, they often say it's like just stepping into someone's home because it doesn't look like a museum. It looks like someone still lives there. They are always, they like the antique telephone, you know, the type that was a party line. They are impressed by some of the blue plates that we showcase. We have wedding gowns. We have the wedding gown from 1903.
Wow.
It was... So it depends upon their interest, but the children sometimes are fascinated mostly by the things they've not seen except in photographs, like the telephone.
And remind us again, when is it open? When can people visit?
It is open on the first Sunday of the month, March through and including December. It's always decorated for Christmas from 3 to 5 p.m., and it's free admission. I did bring with me the vision and the mission statement. Maybe you'd like to hear that.
Please share it with us.
Okay, well, the vision statement is a diverse community that values its past, celebrates its present, and embraces its future. The mission statement is the Irving Heritage Society is a vibrant, intergenerational volunteer organization that advocates historic preservation, educates the community on its heritage, and preserves and accumulates local history.
Wow.
So I think we're very much on target.
For sure.
Yeah, okay,
And Mary pulled out her sheet.
attitude.
She's like, I was looking at that too, and I was thinking the same thing. Mary, can you talk to us about Heritage Park a little bit?
Okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Kay.
I'm sorry.
I'm looking at Kay.
Well, one of the first things that the Heritage Society did when they became the Heritage Society was to start working on Heritage Park. And they selected a logo, which was a depot, since Irving was a railroad town in the beginning. But they secured a depot from Fate, Texas. They got a caboose. They had a windmill and a water tower refurbished, and they're in the Heritage Park. And they got Castor Cabin. It was a small cabin, and they had it completely rebuilt, and there are some of the original boards and wood in it now. And it's also on display certain times of the year, on the 4th of July and different times of the year. We have a docent for that, for the depot and the Castor Cabin, as well as the house.
Let me ask you another question. What's been the most rewarding part of your time as president?
The most rewarding? Seeing new people come in. I'm really happy that we've gotten so many new members, and I hope to get more.
Wonderful. Now, Mary, I want to ask you about Mustang Museum. That's something that we want to come back and talk about.
I'm always happy to talk about Mustang Museum.
I saw that smile.
Yes. Well, of course, the artist is Robert Glenn, who was born and lives in Africa, and he created the Mustangs for Mr. Ben Carpenter, the developer of Las Colinas. He took the commission in 1976, and the horses were installed in 1984. They were done in 3 major steps. The first 2 were done in his studios in Nairobi, and then they were cast in England, just outside of London, by the same foundry who did the Lions of Trafalgar Square. They were shipped over here fully assembled by air, 17-ton of cargo, Pan Am to New York, transferred to American Airlines to bring into DFW and such. So we just recently had a celebration that we called 30+1 because it was our 30th anniversary plus a year. and had a great time. And the artist was here to share that time with us. So it's open to the public Wednesday through Saturday, 11 to 5, and it's also free admission. Free is a good word.
Free is a good price. Everybody loves free, right?
But of course, you can come and see the horses anytime there on William Square at 5221 North O'Connor.
Wonderful. And before we go, we're just about out of time, but I want to come back to you, Kay, and talk one more time about the Valentine Tea, because that's fast approaching for those watching live right now. And tell us about that once again. When can people come and what will they see?
The Valentine Tea is this Sunday at the Heritage House from 2 to 4, and we serve sandwiches, coffee, tea, and you can tour the house and also Mary's Playhouse. And we serve about 200 people. And it's just an enjoyable Sunday afternoon.
And we have a sweetheart too.
Yes, we
Now
have.
tell us
I
about
did
that.
not mention that. We have a sweetheart that is selected by the past presidents or past sweethearts and the chairman, the two chairmen. And it's a secret. We don't know till Sunday who the
We need a
sweetheart
little bit more
will be.
detail. So y'all pick one person that's
Those
going to be
people select the
selected.
sweetheart for the year, yes.
Oh, that's really nice. And what does a sweetheart get? Like big recognition? Y'all announce it and everyone just, is thrilled, gets hugs and
A nice
I love
gift,
it.
and it's
And the title
male,
for the year.
male or female.
male or female, and the title
Right.
for the whole year of being sweetheart.
Sweetheart.
Regina Story was the sweetheart last year, and of course
Okay.
she has been involved from day one in such an important part, past president and
Right.
editor of our newsletter and such. So this year
Wonderful.
you'll have to come to find out who it is.
For sure, it sounds exciting. A lot of people are going to want to get involved. And I'm going to switch topics just a little bit because, Rick, I know you have been involved so much as Irving's DART representative.
Yes.
And a lot of people are wondering about your work with DART. So can you give us a little quick overview of what's going on now?
Sure. One of the things that we're really excited about was the connection to the DFW airport. And as we've seen that connection grow, we're starting to see some development along the transit-oriented development at the different stops for the city of Irving, and the connection to the convention center, to the urban center. And of course, we're still always excited about the TRE, which goes through the southern part of the city, which connects Fort Worth to Dallas, and has a tremendous ridership of about 3,000 to 5,000 people a day go through that and use it as their connection to the area. It also gives us an opportunity to look at our bus and paratransit. One of the things that gets overlooked, we always like to talk about the big and bold things that you see, the trains,
Right.
but the paratransit is something that is very important to the residents here in Irving. And the ability for people who are on dialysis or people who are not able to drive to make and get their doctor's appointments, they can call and set up times for their appointments. We just redid our contract with MV to allow bigger buses and more accessibility into them for wheelchairs and things of that nature. Smaller, so that, and previously there may be 3 or 4 people going to something. Now we're down to 1 or 2 people, maybe 3 at the most, and so you're not in the vehicle as long. But it's an opportunity for those in our community who are not able to get to places on their own to make their doctor's appointments and things of that nature. So that, to me, is one of the things that kind of gets overlooked when we look at the big picture of DART, is the paratransit and what we're able to do for the citizens.
Wonderful. So you've kind of given us an overview of what's going on in the present and the future, and of course y'all have been sharing about the past. You all have mentioned how important it is to get people to join, to get memberships, and to get involved young, and those who are already involved as well. So for those that are watching right now of all ages, tell us one more time, how do you sign up?
Well, we have a website,
Yes.
www.irvingheritage.com,
IrvingHeritage.com.
and there is an application, just a little one-page application. It gives you all the information, or you can contact any one of us for membership.
Wonderful. Well, thank you.
Darlene, I might also mention that, we've talked about all these tours at the house, now the Playhouse, and then Castor Cabin.
Right.
We're always needing docents, so we hope some of our new members will become docents.
Wonderful. And I think a lot of folks will take that challenge too. I want to thank you all for taking the time to be here to talk to us today. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
very much.
And thank you for watching. I'm Starlene Stringer. Please be sure to join us live Thursday, March 10th at 1:30 p.m. for our next edition of Open Line. We'll get you ready for severe weather season with our guest from Irving's Office of Emergency Management. If you have questions, email them to ictn@cityofirving.org or connect with us on Facebook. and we'll get answers for you on our next edition of Open Line. We'll see you then.